All right, this is Trump and the G. I'm the stock exchange, of course, and this is Trump and the G. Trump invokes military against cartels. Stop fentanyl. Um, the drug overdose crisis continues to rage on, even though it's not as drug overdose deaths, from what I understand, has not grown at the rapid pace that had been growing in the past. This first became alarming to the public on a national crisis during Trump's first term. So it's towards the end of his first term where drug overdose deaths actually overtook car accidents as the leading cause of accidental deaths. And we realized we had an opiate crisis. And apparently the culprit was opiate prescriptions. And President Trump vowed to reduce opiate prescriptions and vowed to fight these drug overdose deaths that were spiraling out of control. We're going to reduce prescriptions and call on doctors and distributors to help tamp down the number of drugs in the marketplace to hopefully stem the crisis. It didn't work. After Trump left at the end of his first term, and we hit into a pandemic, after we had a sharp reduction in prescriptions, opiate prescriptions, drug overdose deaths spiked again. This is because of fentanyl, where people, when they couldn't get opiates, they started to turn to fentanyl or turn to cocaine, and sometimes the cocaine was laced with fentanyl to get a stronger high, unbeknownst to some of the users. So fentanyl is even stronger than opiates, and it was killing people. You had a lot of people who didn't really know what drug they were taking, or what was in the drugs that were given to them by their drug dealer. And we had a show on here where we covered the opiate crisis, and we had a doctor, we had a pharmacist, we had pain users who were saying that there were people who were legitimate pain who couldn't get opiates after they cut prescriptions. And you had during the Biden administration, you had 50 attorney generals, state attorney generals, who vowed to cut opiates, sued the opiate manufacturers, sued distributors, and raised billions of dollars. However, how much of the money actually went to drug prevention or drug treatment, who knows? And if it could actually quell drug use, because drug overdose, those deaths kept spiraling. Then what we found out was that the drug overdose deaths were not being caused by doctors prescribing drugs to people and making them use opiates. It was heroin users who returned to the opiate market, who returned to opiates instead of using heroin. And when they were cut off from opiates, when the opiate supply declined, they turned to something else. They were diverted from from prescription opiates to the cocaine market for their high. And then they were dying because sometimes the cocaine was laced with fentanyl. So it didn't stop the demand for drugs. And now we're here. Now Trump is in his second term. And now we're still trying to quell the drug overdose deaths. And now he's threatening to invoke the military to attack drug cartels, maybe in Mexico and Latin America, and accusing them of being terrorists, and using it as a pretext to invoke the military to try to stop the flow of drugs into this country, or the flow of fentanyl into this country. So I'm gonna try to share my screen right quick. Here goes.
To the Pentagon. Take a listen.
You were talking about sending military forces to fight against the drug cartels in Latin America. Do you think it's worth sending our forces, our U.S. forces there to take this on?
Cartels where?
Central Latin America.
Well, Latin America's got a lot of cartels. They've got a lot of drugs flowing. So, we want to protect our country. We have to protect our country. We haven't been doing it for 4 years. And we love this country like they love their countries. We have to protect our country. So, we're playing a tough game, but we'll have more to say about that soon.
News Nation pressing President Trump on reports that he secretly signed a directive ordering the Pentagon to use military force against drug cartels labeled as foreign terrorist organizations. Groups like the Sinaloa Cartel, Venezuela's Cartel de los Soles, Trinidad, and MS-13.
Okay, so if he can label these organizations foreign terrorist groups, he can probably invoke the military. Now, I know there's been fentanyl being shipped in here from Mexico, from Latin America, and also from China. Now, if he just can cut the fentanyl supply, what happens then? Do the drug users then divert to another market? Because the demand for drugs not going to stop because you cut the supply. And I wrote about in this book, Shock Exchange, how inner city kids from Brooklyn predicted the Great Recession in the pan. And I wrote about how to stem the drug trade. Something other than just cutting supply. But definitely going to show President Trump, if he does this, will definitely show the American public a show of force. He's going to illustrate a show of force. And he's going to show that he's making every effort to quell the this drug epidemic that we have. Whether it works or not, who knows? But he's definitely gonna illustrate a show of force and show the American people that he's trying, and he's using all the resources at his disposal to stop the flow of fentanyl into this country. Hopefully, stem drug overdose deaths being caused by fentanyl. So that's Trump and the G. Thank you for listening.